तकसीर ते नहीं कोई सैयद दी होया वैरी कुल ज़मानाए ए आखिरी रात मुसाफिरां दी कल फजरे की हो जाना है।
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام والتحية والإكرام على سيد الأنبياء والمرسلين خاتم النبيين رحمة للعالمين أبي القاسم محمد المصطفى صلى الله عليه وسلم وعلى آله الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المنتجبين أما بعد فقد قال الله سبحانه وتعالى في القرآن الكريم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم يا أيتها النفس المطمئنة ارجعي إلى ربك راضية مرضية صلى الله محمد وعلى محمد. All praise is due to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who has created us in a perfect manner and who has given us the greatest favor by rewarding us with a valueless, and it's a big amount, what we call, it's a wisdom. It's the greatest thing, what we call wisdom. Dear brothers, my friends and elders, Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam he mentioned a hadith, a statement in fact, saying that Innal Husayna misbahul huda wa safinatun najat. This is the statement he had delivered during the time of when still Imam Hussein and Imam Hassan was small. That time he delivered this statement and he mentioned very clearly that Innal Husayna misbahul huda. Hussein is the torch or a light of guidance, was safinatun najat, and he's an ark of rescue. He's a rescuing ark. Whoever comes in, he will be rescued. Now, in different times, different people have taken the message differently. Because it's a very popular saying that whoever says, whatever he says, he is responsible to what he says. But he is not responsible what you understand. Right? For example, now I'm saying something, I'm talking something, I'm responsible for what I'm saying. I can give the references, whatever you want, and I am responsible what I am saying. But I'm not responsible what you receive it and what you understand from that. Same thing happened related to Imam Hussein alayhi salam and the event of Karbala. Even from the event of Karbala, different people from different communities, from different societies, from different walk of life, from different academy, they have received the message differently. And they understood the message of Karbala and message of Imam Hussein in different ways. The beautiful phrase of a poem from, again, Josh Malay Abadi, it's very popular, everyone knows that one. He has given a very beautiful phrase in a poem. He says, इंसान को बेदार तो हो लेने दो, हर कौम पुकारेगी हमारे हुसैन. Let the human being get awakened. let the people, let the person, let the human, let the mankind get the awareness. Once they get awareness, once they are awakened, then everyone will say, Imam Hussein is my leader. Imam Hussein belongs to me. Every community and every nationality will say, Imam Hussein belongs to me, belongs to us, and Imam Hussein is my leader and he is my Imam. It's a very beautiful statement, a beautiful poem. And based on that, if you go through different books from different authors, from different communities, from different regions and religions, you will understand what they are saying about our Imam Hussein alayhi salam. Now, today I am going to say some of the quotations from different scholars, different authors and writers and intellectuals of international level. And then only we will understand whether we are really appreciating and valuing the teachings of Imam Hussein, the sacrifices Imam Hussein had given for the sake of Islam, in the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. What lessons we understand, we learn from the event of Karbala. Again I said, different people based on their own ability, based on their own capacity, based on their own knowledge, based on their own background, they have received differently from the event of Karbala. If a politician have also got some message for himself. If he's a very pious person, he also received the message differently. If he belongs to, as a social worker, if he's a social worker, he also received the message from Imam Hussein in his own way. That's why I've gathered some of the quotations from different people, from politicians, from writers, and from academicians. One of the most popular sayings, particularly those belongs to India, they have heard and they have read this statement from Mahatma Gandhi. Mahatma Gandhi, one of the greatest leaders, everyone knows. He was the non-violent leader. He was against the violence. And he says what he learned from Karbala. He says, he's an Indian politician and also he was a spiritual leader. Don't think that he was just a politician, he was a political leader, he was a spiritual leader too. He says, I learned from Hussein how to achieve victory while being oppressed. While being oppressed, how to achieve the victory. And Imam Hussein's sacrifices show this, prove this, that even after his death, he is ruling over millions of people around the world. This was his pure sacrifices which caused to rule over millions of people around the world. And this gathering itself is a proof. The second quotation from Thomas Carlyle, he says he's a Scottish historian and essayist. And he says, the best lesson which we get from the tragedy of Karbala is that Hussein and his companions were rigid believers of God. Rigid believers in God. They illustrated that the numerical superiority, he says, they have illustrated just because they had a strong belief in Allah, strong belief in their faith, strong belief in what they are doing. And because of that, he says, they illustrated that the numerical superiority does not count when it comes to the truth and the falsehood. The numerical superiority will not count in here. He says, the victory of Hussein, despite his minority, marvels me. They were so, in the minority, there was just 72, but they fought against thousands and thousands of soldiers with a lot of weapons, with a lot of power, with a lot of support, but they were just surrounded, 72 people. Again, one more historian and a member of parliament from UK, from Great Britain, is a very famous author who has written The Decline and Fall of Romans. He says, in a distant age and climate, the tragic scene of the death of Hussein will awaken the sympathy of the coldest reader. Even a coldest reader, if he go through the history of Imam Hussein alayhi salam, he will understand, he will say, yes, he is the leader, he is the true leader. And next, it comes to Charles Dickens. He's an English novelist, he's a very famous writer, and he mentions, some people, it's a very good answer to our Muslim brothers. Some of us, they say that Imam Hussein fought for the worldly, materialistic world, for materialistic gain or something like that. Unfortunately, our Muslim brothers, we should not count them, we should not give any importance to them, they are very few, right? But still, it's very, paining when we hear such type of statements from our own Muslim brothers. He says, if Hussein had fought to quench his worldly desires, then I do not understand why his sister, wife, and children accompanied him. It stands to reason, therefore, that he sacrificed purely for Islam. It's not for worldly gains. If he had, even if you take our own example, if you have an intention to get some worldly gains, we don't take our own kids, our own families with us, where there is a danger situation. Now we have to appreciate our Imam, our leader, to whom we have faith and believe in. The next quotation is from a great writer, from a great author who was from Lebanon and also from Syria. He is a Syrian Christian, Syrian Lebanese Christian. He has written a very nice book. The book is The Hussein in Christian Ideology. Hussein in Christian Ideology. In his book, he says, even I think I quoted this one, but still I will repeat that. He says, Muslims are not really appreciating the sacrifices of Imam Hussein alayhi salam. He deserves more appreciation, he deserves more respect rather than what he is getting now. Although we are remembering and we are mourning the tragedy of Karbala, but still he deserves more appreciation and more respect. His name was Antoine Bara, and he has written the book called Hussein in Christian Ideology. He says, no battle in the modern and past history of mankind has earned more sympathy and admiration, as well as provided more lessons than the martyrdom of Hussein in the Battle of Karbala. Let me go because I have limited time, because I have so many. I will try my best to do as much as I can. The next quotation is from Edward G. Brown. He was a professor at the University of Cambridge. He says, a reminder of that blood-stained field of Karbala, where the grandson of the apostle of God fell, at length tortured by thirst and surrounded by the bodies of his murdered kinsman, has been at any time since then sufficient to evoke, even in the most lukewarm and the heedless, the deepest emotion, the most frantic grief, and an exaltation of spirit before which pain, danger, and death shrink to unconsidered trifles. Again, one more quotation from Mahatma Gandhi. He was a great leader. We should appreciate. He has done many things. If you go through his biography, we will understand how good person he was. Mahatma Gandhi says, my faith is that, see, even now people say Islam spread with the power of sword, not by the Muslims' characters, not by the values Islam has, but it is spread with the swords. Mahatma Gandhi, it is not from the Muslims. He was a non-Muslim, he was a pure Hindu. He says, My faith is that the progress of Islam does not depend on the use of sword, but its believers. But the result of the supreme sacrifice of Hussein alayhi salam, the great saint. It is the result of supreme sacrifices of Imam Hussein alayhi salam. This Islam spread all over the world. And again, one more politician from India is Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, the first Prime Minister after independence. Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, he says, Imam Hussein alayhi salam sacrifice is for all group, all communities, an example of the path of righteousness. I said this one. Unfortunately, we have limited the history or the remembrance of Karbala within the Shia community or in, say, some places, some non-Shia communities. Even Jawaharlal Nehru has accepted that Imam Hussein's sacrifices and his remembrance should not be limited to the particular community. His sacrifices was to all humanity, to whole humanity. And then Rabindranath Tagore, I think most of my Indian friends, they know Rabindranath Tagore was a great poet and he was a great writer and who has written the national anthem of India. He says, in order to keep alive justice and truth, instead of an army or weapons, success can be achieved by sacrificing lives. Exactly what Imam Hussein did. Exactly what Imam Hussein did, that which we can achieve with our sacrifices. It was the sacrifice of Imam Hussein which caused Islam to spread all over the world and to understand what real Islam is. Next is quotation again from an Indian politician. It's Dr. Rajendra Prasad, who was the first president after independence. Dr. Rajendra Prasad. He says, this sacrifice of Imam Hussein alayhi salam is not limited to one country or nation, but it is the hereditary state of the brotherhood of all mankind. His sacrifice is not for one community. He did not sacrifice his life, his family, just for one community. Dear brothers, spread this message that Imam Hussein belongs to all humanity, not only Muslims, not only Shias. This is what even Dr. Rajendra Prasad says. Second, again, the next quotation, it is from Dr. Sarvapalli Radhakrishna. He was from South India, but he was the first vice president of India after independence. He says, though Imam Hussein alayhi salam gave his life almost 1,300 years back, when at the time when he was delivering the speech, it was more than 100 years back, right? He says, though Imam Hussein alayhi salam gave his life almost 1,300 years ago, but his indestructible soul rules the heart of people even today. He's ruling the hearts of people wherever they are, even after 1,400 or even 1,500 years. He's ruling over the hearts. There are two more quotes from Swami Shankaracharya, Hindu. You know, Shankaracharya, usually it is used as a title for the greatest monk of Hindus. I mean, the leaders, the priest of Hindu, the greatest priest of Hindu will be given a title called Swami Shankaracharya. He says, even though Hindu priest, Hindu monk, he says, it is Hussein alayhi salam's sacrifice that has kept Islam alive. It was Imam Hussein's sacrifice which kept Islam alive. Or else, in this world, there would be no one left to take Islam's name. Wow, it's a great statement from a Hindu monk, from a Hindu scholar, from a Hindu priest, He says it is the sacrifice of Imam Hussein alayhi salam which kept the Islam alive right now. If wherever Muslims are living, it is just because of the sacrifices of Imam Hussein alayhi salam. It is from Swami Shankaracharya. Last quotation, it is from Sarojini Naidu. I think most of my Indian brothers know Sarojini Naidu was a great poet and poet come freedom fighter, and she used to be called as the Nightingale of India. She sang many patriotic songs during the time of Indian independence. She says, I congratulate Muslims that from among them, Hussein alayhi salam, a great human being was born, who is revered and honored totally by all communities. She says she congratulates Muslims that from among them, I would say among us, we should be proud of ourselves that Hussein belongs to us, Hussein is from us. And let me conclude after that with a hadith that this is the phrases even the greatest scholar of the century, the great leader, one great leader of the century, Ayatollah Uzma Imam Khomeini said, we should be proud that we are the followers of Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam. We should be proud that Imam Jafar Sadiq belongs to us. We should be proud that Nahjul Balagha, such a great book, is from us. We should be proud that Saifa Sajjadiyah is one of the greatest book of du'as. It belongs to us. And we should be proud that the Saifa Fatimiyah belongs to us. And we have many things to be proud of ourselves. We have a richest culture. We should not follow others' culture. We have good culture to follow ourselves, to follow Islam. We should be proud of ourselves. Let me tell you one more thing. The same, one of the member of parliament from Britain, when he traveled to India during the British India time, he made the research. After researching, he went back to the British Parliament and he delivered a very popular speech. He said, if you want to rule over India, you know everyone that time India was, Pakistan, India, Bangladesh, all those subcontinent was the same. He says, if you want to rule over India, you have to do two things. One is make them understand that, make them conclude that our culture is bad. Make them understand that our culture is bad. Whatever we make is bad. Whatever we have is bad. Whatever those Ferengis have is good. Whatever they make is good. Just make them. Do some way of propagation, the way in different possible media, use different possible media to make them understand that whatever we have is bad, whatever they have is good. This is what nowadays they are doing. They are making us to understand and to feel and accept that what we have is bad. What culture we have is bad. What type of whatever education system we have is bad. Whatever we make is bad. Whatever they do is good. Whatever their culture is good. They are superior. They are, this feeling they create that we are inferior. Once we have the inferiority complex, we are gone. Imam Hussein shows no. You should be proud of yourself. No matter you are against what a huge power or what is the superpower, even if you are against the superpowers, you should believe in yourself, that you should have a rigid and firm faith that what we believe is best. What faith we have is the best. What religion we have is the best. What leaders we have are the best. They are the superior to everyone. So now, again to the ahadith for today. I think I have taken a little more time, but today is the Shab Bedari. We should be awake for the whole night. I mean, as much as we can, because this was the last night for the martyrs of Karbala. They spent whole night like praying and remembering Allah. And they were preparing themselves how they can sacrifice themselves in the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So Hazrat Imam Riza alayhi salam, he says, Jabna Shabib, إن سرك أن تكون معنا في الدرجات العلى من الجنان فاحزن لحزننا وافرح لفرحنا. O son of Shabib, Shabib, this is his companion. You know, let me tell you this one also for your information. In Arab world, they usually call father by his son's name. Like for example, Abul Hassan. They never call Ya Ali. You know, usually they used to call Abul Hassan, oh father of Hassan alayhi salam, for Imam alayhi salam, for example. That is called the kunya. Usually it is called Abu Ja'far, for example, Abu Abdullah. They usually call. And sometimes they used to call with their father name, like, oh son of so and so. See here also Imam Riza alayhi salam says, oh son of Shabib, if you want, if you wish, if you think, and if you wish that you want to be with us in the Jannah, in the elevated place in Jannah, you have to do one thing. He says, فَحْزَنْ لَحُزْنِنَا, be sad in our sadness. Observe sadness, observe majalis, or weep and cry in if we are sad, if we are weeping or crying. And then he says, وَافْرَحْ لِفَرْحِنَا, and be happy when we are happy. It means that whatever we do, you have to do. If you are following us, if you are unhappy and sad, you should be unhappy and sad. If you are happy, you have to be happy. And the next hadith, which is 32nd hadith, Imam Riza alayhi salam says, مَنْ تَرَكَ السَّعَادَ فِي حَوَاجِهِ يَوْمَ عَاشُورَى مَنْ تَرَكَ السَّعْيَ في حوائجه يوم عاشوراء قضى الله له حوائج الدنيا والآخرة. Of course, it is totally based on our faith, what we feel. Imam Riza says, whoever leaves his wishes, he does not want to have any wish, anything, worldly things during the last 2 days, or particularly on the Ashura day. You know, we believe that on Ashura day we should not ask Allah for anything related to this world, for any materialistic things, for any worldly thing. We should not ask, we should not do dua in general, we should not do dua on this day, on Ashura particularly. He says, قَضَى اللَّهُ لَهُ حَوَائِجَ الدُّنْيَا وَالْآخِرَةِ. If you do so, Allah will provide you, Allah will grant him his desires of this world and also the world hereafter. Allah will fulfill your desires if you do not wish and do dua on the Shahadat day. And next, from Imam Sadiq alayhi salam, وَإِنْ زَائِرَهُ. May I request you to please come this way, because today is we are expecting the maximum attendance of our community. May I request you to please move. आप थोड़ा सा इस तरफ आ जाएं, मेहरबानी करके. अभी मोमिन बाहर बहुत खड़े हुए हैं, आप और थोड़ा सा इस तरफ आ जाएं. एक और सलात पढ़े मोहम्मद वाले. एक और सलात पढ़े मोहम्मद वाले. قال الصادق عليه السلام وإن زائره لينقلب وما عليه من ذنب. He says, if you go for a pilgrimage, if you go to do ziyarah of Imam Hussain alayhi salam, inshallah, may Allah grant you this opportunity so that every one of us can go to Karbala and do the ziyarah of Imam Hussain alayhi salam. See, it is similar to the Hajj also. There is a hadith related to Hajj. It says, whoever does Hajj, after coming back from the Hajj, his sins will be wiped off, his sins will be forgiven, and he will be as if like a newborn baby. he's like a newborn, innocent baby. Imam Sadiq alayhi salam also says, if you go for ziyarat, if you go for ziyarat, after you come back, you will be as if like a newborn baby, innocent. All your sins are wiped off, all your sins are forgiven, and you should be proud of that one, that you are coming back from the ziyarat of Imam Hussain alayhi salam, and promise yourself that if and only if you follow the path of Imam Hussain alayhi salam, if you don't do any more sin after the ziyaras, definitely we will be considered, and Allah will grant us the place in Jannah. The last hadith for today, I think there are two more, but I will finish just this hadith. It says, one more again, the similar. It says, إِنَّهُ قال الصادق عليه السلام وإنه ليرى من يبكيه فيستغفر له ويسأل آباءه أن يستغفر له. It says, Imam Sadiq says, whoever remembers and observe and cry and weep for the tragedy of Karbala and the sacrifices of Imam Hussain alayhi salam and the martyrdom of Imam Hussain alayhi salam, وَيَبْكِي, and he cries, فَيَسْتَغْفِرُ لَهُ, Allah will forgive his sins. He will be forgiven. وَيَسْأَلُ آبَاءُهُ, and also he says, Allah will ask his fathers and grandfathers. That means he says he will ask my fathers and my grandfathers, and yastaghfir, not only himself, Allah will forgive. Even imams will also recommend, and they will also ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to forgive the person who cries and weeps and observes the tragedy of Karbala. Inshallah, may Allah accept our majalis, may Allah accept our remembrance of Imam Hussain alayhi salam, may Allah accept our tears coming out for the sadness of Imam Hussain alayhi salam, and may Allah grant us a place in Jannah in the neighborhood of Imam alayhi salam. Wassalamu alaykum wa
Nare Takbir. Allahu Akbar. Nare Risalat. Ya Rasulullah. Nare Adari. Ya Ali. Ya Ali. Nare Salwar. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Rahmallahu man tala al-Fatiha. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والعاقبة للمتقين والجنة للموحدين والنار للعاصين ثم الصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين سيد النبيين وخاتم النبيين حبيب إله العالمين مولانا بالقاسم المصطفى محمد الطيبين الطاهرين الغر الميامين الذين أذهب الله عنهم الرجس وطهرهم تطهيرا الإمام المبين الحجة الثاني عشر المهدي المنتظر